Hi everyone, I'm Giovanni Sebastianelli.
I'm Abby Raftery.
And I'm Meg Melander. So we're the leaders of SAD, also known as Students Against Destructive Decisions at Wayland High School. SAD meets every other Wednesday afternoon in the wellness classroom, and our meetings are open to all students.
SAD's message is to encourage students to make safe and healthy decisions and prioritize their mental health. Our guest speaker today is Eric Dardario, who throughout the years has been faced with formidable challenges on several levels.
Overcoming adversity, Eric has been traveling the United States teaching youth about how to use healthy coping mechanisms when struggling.
Today you're going to learn how to relieve the pressure and weight you are carrying from the struggles you're facing, so you can live the life you deserve to be happy, healthy, and fulfilled.
If at any time you feel the need to leave, please feel free to do so. Please silence your phones. Thank you and enjoy. Please join me in welcoming Eric Dardario.
Thank you for that. So just imagine how much different your life could be right now if you made the decision to talk about that battle, that struggle, that fight you're going through in here. Because look, being real with you right now, every single one of you in here today, you will suffer. You will struggle. You will go through hard times because that's a part of life. And when you go through those difficult moments, what do you think that comes with? That comes with pressure. That comes with weight that you carry around. And when you do nothing to relieve that pressure, that weight, it just becomes heavier and heavier. And the pressure becomes tighter and tighter to the point to where it weighs on you so much. It affects you so much. You start thinking to yourself, I'll do whatever I can. Whatever I can not to feel like this. I'll do whatever I can not to go through this. I'll do whatever I can not to live like this. And not knowing how to deal with what you're going through in that moment in a healthy way, you can start making decisions that bring you down a road that nobody wants to go down. A road that can ruin your life. But understand, these difficult moments you will face in life, they don't just show up for no reason. You go through these tough moments for a reason. See, there's a purpose to the pain, to the suffering, to the struggle, to those fights you will go through. What is that reason? It's to make you stronger for life. It's to make you stronger for the adversity, for the struggles, for the fights you are going to go through later in your life. Because understand, there are just going to be some things that you're going to face that you're not going to be able to run from, no matter how hard you want to. You're not going to be able to avoid, no matter how hard you try. You're going to have to face them head on to deal with them. Because if you don't face them head on, and if you just continue to push them to the side, and you continue to ignore them, what happens? That pressure, that's where it just becomes tighter and tighter. And that's when the weight becomes heavier and heavier. You just turn around, and that thing that you didn't think was a big deal is just taking your life over. So for real, be real with yourself. Be honest, and think about this. What is it for you? For real, what is it for you that's got you hurting in here? What is it for you that's got you struggling in here? What is it for you that's got you fighting in here every single day? For you, is it that stress of the academics? Is that what it is? You just want to get good grades, you want to get into that college. You're a little overwhelmed about the college process right now. Or maybe for you, you're an athlete. And you want to play at that next level. Or it could just be the simple fact that your home life's a wreck. But see, the interesting thing is, when you're going through this difficult moment that's really got you fighting in here, that's really got you struggling, that's got you hurting, you're walking around with this attitude like, man, me, I'm tough enough. I'm strong enough. I'm not weak. I can get through this thing on my own. I'm good. I don't need anybody's help. You're just putting this front on up here. Like everything's all good. Like nothing's wrong. When in reality, you're hurting in here. Then in reality, you're struggling in here. Then in reality, you're fighting in here every single day. To just bury your emotions. To hide what you're going through from others. I mean, nobody has any idea what you're going through when you do this. Your teachers, they have no idea. Your parents have no idea. Your friends don't even know. So if nobody knows what you're going through in here, really think about this. If nobody has any idea the fight that you're facing in here, because you're just working so hard to put that front on every day, then how are you supposed to get the help that you deserve? For real, how? It's not getting better. You just keep thinking to yourself, I'm just going to get through today. Just get through today. Tomorrow will get better. And then you tell yourself that the next day, and then the next day, and the next day. But it's not getting better. It's only getting heavier, that weight, and that pressure is only getting tighter and more difficult to deal with. So just understand, whatever it is that you're going through right now, whatever it is you may go through next month, few months from now, next school year, it's critical you understand that it's okay not to be okay. It is. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to suffer in silence by yourself. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to not talk about what you're going through with somebody. It's okay not to be okay, for real. But it's not okay to stay that way. Why? Because you deserve to be happy. You do. You deserve to enjoy your life, regardless of the decisions you made in the past, regardless of how you see you, regardless of what you think about you. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to enjoy your life. So then how? How do you relieve all that pressure? How do you relieve all that weight that you've just been carrying around, that's just been weighing on you, that's just got you exhausted every single day, that's just made it a fight to get out, that's just made it a fight to get through the day? What do you have to do when it just feels like you can't get through it, when it feels like you're not going to be able to get through it and there's no hope? Let that guard down. Become vulnerable. Speak up and ask for help from what you're going through in here. And I'm sure right now you just have the attitude, back up, man. Wait a minute, back up. So you're telling me you want me to talk about that struggle, that fight, that battle that I'm going through in here with somebody else? You want me to talk about that deep, dark secret that only I know about? Yes, I do. And I get it. This conversation, it's hard. It's not easy. Why? Because of the unknown. You don't know how that person's going to react when you ask for help. You don't know what they're going to say. You don't know how they're going to think about you. And so then that comes with the fear. That comes with the nerves. That comes with the concern. That comes with the fright of asking for help. But here's the thing that's important you know. When you let that guard down, when you become vulnerable, you speak up and you ask for help from what you're going through, when you make that decision, that's the first step that you take forward to start dealing and healing from whatever it is in here that's got you suffering. Now, to show you how not asking for help when you're struggling, when you're going through this difficult moment, how it can affect you, I'm going to ask if someone can come up here to volunteer. Raise your hand to come up here to volunteer. I'm going to need somebody. Right up there, back row with the hand up. Jake, nice to meet you. All right, Jake, stand right here. All right, so Jake was the brave soul that was willing to come up here. I appreciate it. Come see me after. I'll give you a sweatshirt or a t-shirt for doing that. All right? So, Jake is up here volunteering, but it's critical that we get this message here. All right? So, tell me, what's something that somebody is struggling with right now? Doesn't have to be you, just scream, yep.
Depression!
There you go. And he's right. Depression, that's a big thing. All right? So right now, Jake found out that somebody maybe in his family right now had cancer, going through a difficult moment. I want you to hold the weights right here, all right? Don't let them go down. All right? Now, that heavy? No, and that's not that heavy. You can deal with that, right? Yeah, all right? So now Jake's thinking to himself, I'm just going to get through this on my own. I don't want to say anything to anybody. I'm just going to put my head down, and I'm going to get through it on my own. Because I don't want to look weak. I should be able to get through this on my own. I should be tough enough. I should be strong enough. What's another thing that somebody may be struggling with right now?
Anxiety.
Anxiety, that's another big one, yes. Anxiety, all right? So now he's got a little bit more weight that he's going through. He's got that anxiety that he's struggling with. Because he's a little nervous maybe about his grades, about taking those AP classes, challenging himself, getting into that college. Now, Jake, is that hard? No, it's not that bad, right? You can deal with this on your own. You need to help you, right? No. He seems like he's pretty confident. He's tough enough. He's strong enough to be able to get through this on his own. Again, he's putting his head down and just trying to get through it on his own. He doesn't want help from anybody. He's got that attitude of, I can do this on my own. Give me one more thing. What's something somebody may be struggling with? Fear. Yes. Fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of things that are going to maybe happen in their life. Fear of moving forward. Fear of maybe going to college. Alright? Now that's something else he's struggling with. Now, it's still not that bad, right? Are you good? Right? You don't need my help. And so this is the attitude we have when we go through these types of things. I can get through this on my own. I don't want anybody's help. But over time, the weight becomes heavier and heavier. And it becomes harder and harder to deal with. So now, Jake, what I want you to do is keep the weight up here, bring it out. Hold that. Is that a little harder? Yeah. Yeah, I can see in your face, right? Yeah. You think you can walk around like this for the rest of the day? No. Right? Maybe it's starting to burn a little. Right? It's starting to get you shaky. See, but no, we're laughing, but this is what happens when we're going through these difficult moments. The weight compounds and it gets heavier and heavier. You can see it on his face, it's dropping, and this is how you feel. Don't let that weight drop now, come on. Alright? But this is how you feel. And you don't want to say anything, but it's hurting, you're struggling, you're fighting just like Jake. Because you don't want to be looked at as weak. But at the same time, you don't want to feel that pain, that suffering, that struggle. So you just say, I'm just going to try to get through it on my own. And you make those unhealthy choices. It's hard, Jake, isn't it? See, you're really fighting now. This is why it gets exhausting. This is why it hurts. Thank you, Jake. Give it up. Perfect example right there of how letting that weight compound, letting the things that you're struggling with over time, it becomes heavy, and you just want out because it just weighs on you so much, and it's so hard to deal with. But you don't want to say anything to anybody, and so it's critical that you know this: that there's nothing. When I say nothing, I truly mean nothing that is too small for you to deal with. Because it's with that mindset that you think, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to push it to the side. As you heard earlier, it's with that mindset that thing you're going through, you don't think is a big deal, it grows. And it grows and it affects you more and more to where you can start making those unhealthy decisions. Now you're going to hear a story about Jimmy. And Jimmy was struggling with the same types of things that we just talked about with Jake. He's struggling with anxiety. He's struggling with depression. He's got stress through the roof. And Jimmy thinks to himself, how do I get through this? This is really affecting me. It's really hurting me in here. I'm sick and tired of having to fight every day. I don't want to go through this. I just want to be happy. I want to enjoy my life. So what does he do? He texts me and goes, Eric, man, I need help. I need help. Can we meet up? Less than an hour later, me and Jimmy's cars pull up in a parking lot. And as soon as Jimmy's window comes down, you can see the concern. You can see the nerves on his face. He looks right at me and goes, look, Eric, thank you for coming here today, man. I didn't know who else to talk with. I've been going through such a difficult moment in my life. I've been making some unhealthy choices, drinking, getting drunk, smoking, getting high, messing around with cocaine. And I need to stop. This is affecting me. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Talk to your parents about what you're going through. Have you let them know that you need help? And he looks right at me and goes, come on, man, you can't be serious. My parents, my mother, my father? You know, my mother, she might be accepting and supportive of helping me and not getting mad, but my father, do you know my father? He'll be so pissed. He'll be so angry at me. No way. I'm not talking to him. And now all of a sudden, what happens? The fear, the nerves, the concern, the fright, they set in with having this conversation of asking for help. And he goes, you know what, now that I think about it, I'm not doing this I'm not doing it all the time. I think I'm just going to go, I think I'm just going to leave. And if I can't stop, I'll talk with my parents. I'll let them know what's going on. I think I'm just going to leave. And I say, wait, Jim, look, I understand. Right now you're nervous. You're concerned, you're afraid of how your parents are going to react. What are they going to think about you? What are they going to say? What about this? What about if we go around the corner to your brother John's house, we ask him to be there to support you, to have this conversation? And he looks at me and he goes, come on, man, my brother John? He's just like my father. He'll be so pissed, he'll be so upset at me. No way. And so for the next hour, we just sit in that parking lot and we talk back and forth about this. And then all of a sudden, what does John do? He decides, right, let's go to John's house. What does Jimmy do? He decides, let's go to my brother John's house. So we drive around the corner to John's house, walk up the steps, and there is brother John right there, sitting on the couch, watching TV. I pull up a chair over here, Jimmy pulls up a chair over there. I look at John and I say, look, John, I'm here today to support your brother. He's been going through a difficult moment in his life. And he's been making some decisions that he's not so proud about that he wants help from. Please give me your attention. This isn't easy to do. And all of a sudden, John's focus and concern switches over to Jimmy. And he looks right at John and goes, well, John, I don't know how to say this, but I need help. I've been making some unhealthy choices to try to deal with what I've been going through. And so I'm here today to ask you if you'll please be there to support me when I talk to Mom and Dad about this. What does John do? Nothing. He just looks right at Jimmy. And Jimmy really thinks to himself, why did I agree to this? Why did I decide to do this? I knew he'd be pissed. I knew he'd be mad. Why? But then all of a sudden, John pops up off the couch, walks over to his brother, gives him a hug and goes, man, I'll do anything for you. Yes, I'll help you. And Jimmy starts breaking down. Walks over to me and goes, Eric, man, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. That took all my strength. That took all my courage. I feel like I had this weight that was just weighing me down. There was so much pressure, and so much of it just got relieved. Thank you. Later that day, they go and they talk to their parents, and Jimmy lets his mother and father know the decisions that he was making, what he was going through. Now his mother, she didn't get mad, she didn't yell at him. She just wanted to help him, but how did his father react? Well, maybe to your surprise and his surprise, he didn't yell, he didn't get mad, he just wanted to help him. And all because Jimmy had those conversations with me in the parking lot, with his brother at his house, with his parents, I can tell you today, Jimmy hasn't touched a drink or drug in over 6 years. All because he was able to look past the nerves, the concern, the fright, the emotion of having this conversation. He was able to see how that, when he let that guard down, when he became vulnerable and he talked about what he was going through, that was the first step he was going to take to really start healing and dealing with that fight that he's going through in here. And look, I know you have the courage. If you're going through that tough moment right now, if you're really fighting, if you're really struggling, you're really hurting in here, I know you can do it. I know you can take action. But I know right now a big reason that's holding you back is because of that judgment, right? You're concerned, you're nervous about what others here, your classmates, your friends are going to think about you. What may they say? How may they react? What may they think about you? Or how that person you approach is going to look at you? Are they going to try to get you in trouble? Are they going to reprimand you? And so because of that, you're avoiding this conversation. But it is so critical that you understand that you have people in this building that care so much about you. They truly do. And as a matter of fact, if they could see past this front that you put on every day, and you acting like everything's all good, like nothing's wrong, and they could see that struggle that you face in here, they would only want to do one thing for you. They wouldn't want to yell at you. They wouldn't want to reprimand you. They wouldn't want to get you in trouble. All they would want to do is help you. That's it. That's all they would want to do. Because they care about the person you become. They care about the road that you take. They care about where you end up later in your life, after you leave Wayland High School, whether it's 3 or 4, 5 years down the road. They truly care about you as a human being. But you want to know what the problem is right now? They don't know the real you. They don't. You're working so hard to put this front on every day and make it seem like everything's all good and nothing's wrong when you're struggling here. They don't know that fight that you face. They don't know that battle that you're going through every day that's just affecting you in here, that's taking your life over. So how are they supposed to help you? Why wouldn't you take advantage of this? When you have people here who are willing, who are waiting, who are wanting to help you with what you're going through, to help you get through that tough moment. I know you can do this. And I say that with confidence because whenever I speak at schools like this and I'm done with the presentation, I see students who approach counselors. I see students who approach other teachers. I have students come up to me and they're just honest. They're like, look, I felt like you were speaking to me. I'm struggling right now. I'm going through that season in my life where I am hurting. I need help. And that's when they're able to get through that difficult moment. And you know, maybe right now you're that person who's thinking, I'm not going through anything, I'm good. What am I doing here? I'm not struggling. Well, as you heard, everybody in life struggles. And when you go through those difficult moments, later in your life, you can apply what you're learning today. But also, today, we're not just talking about that one person struggling. We're not just talking about the handful of people struggling. We're talking about the support system around them. See, we're talking about you being there for them, you helping them, you guiding them through that difficult moment that they're facing. Because when that person is going through and they're really fighting, they're really hurting, they're really battling, they're knocked down. They are knocked down, man. They are struggling. They want to get back up. They want to say something. They want help. But they just don't know what to do. They just don't know that first step to take. They just don't know how to ask for help. And so you being that friend, you being that teammate, you being that classmate to them, what do? You lend that helping hand. Grab a hold of them, and you get them back on their feet. Because that's what classmates, that's what friends, that's what siblings do for each other. When you know someone who's struggling, you don't just look at them and talk about them behind their back. When you know somebody's struggling, when they're knocked down and they're hurting, you don't make fun of them. When they're struggling, when they're knocked down and they're hurting, you don't just turn the cheek and make it look like you don't know what they're going through. That friend, that brother, that sister, you lend that helping hand to get them back on their feet. Oh, because as you heard, you're going to go through it. No matter how tough, no matter how strong you think you are, in life it is going to knock you down. You are going to be that person that is fighting. And when you are knocked down, when you're hurting, when you're struggling, when you're fighting, are you going to want people to just make fun of you? You going to want people to talk about you behind your back? You going to want people to just look the other way and make it seem like you don't know what you're going through? No. You're going to want them to lend that helping hand to get you back up on your feet and support you in any way that they can. And if you are that person who's going through it right now, who's really struggling, who's hurting, who's fighting, know this. When you have a friend, a sibling, a classmate pull you aside, and they talk to you and just let you know, I just want to make sure everything's all good. It just seems like you're off, like something's going on. They're not coming at you. They're not putting you on blast. They're not calling you weak. They're just simply letting you know, I'm here for you. If you're going through something, I want to help you. Take advantage of that. Let them know what you're going through. When you have members, when you can have people who are by your side through this difficult moment, it makes it a little easier. You may be saying to yourself right now, what do you care about what I'm going through? What do you care about what my classmates are going through? Because I have seen so many people who have struggled. And I have seen so many people who haven't asked for help. And they're no longer here. They're struggling. They're still going through it. One of those people, my younger brother Brendan, growing up, struggled horribly with social anxiety. To the point where he had that attitude of, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to go through this. Just want to enjoy my life. I want to be happy. And not knowing that he had people around him who truly would have helped him get through that difficult moment, he thought to himself, no way. I'm not asking anybody for help. I'm going to be able to get through this on my own. I'm tough enough. I'm strong enough. But the weight just becomes too heavy for him. So what does he decide to do? I'm just going to stop drinking. Maybe that's what's going to make this feel better. That's what's going to make me feel better. Maybe that's what's going to make all the pain, the suffering, the struggle go away. So he goes in the refrigerator, grabs a beer, then another one. And then another one. A few years later, he's drunk. And all of a sudden he's thinking to himself, this is it. This is what I needed. This is what's going to help me get through what I'm going through. I feel so much better. I'm so much more relaxed. I don't feel the anxiety anymore. The pain, the suffering, the struggle, it's gone. Yes, I finally found how to deal with this. Having no idea that that feeling of being drunk wears off. All the pain, all the suffering, the struggle comes right back. So what does he do next? Start faking. Thinking, I just get high. Maybe that's what really calmed me down, relaxed me, make me feel better. But again, just like the alcohol and all that, when the feeling of being high wears off, all the pain, the suffering, the struggle comes right back. So then that's what leads to him messing around with the Percocets, the Oxycontin, and the Xanax. And then eventually, he starts shooting heroin. 12 years. He starts shooting heroin. And this all started with dealing with going through social anxiety and not asking for help, trying to get through it on his own. Not feeling like he had people in his life who he could trust, who he could ask for help from. And look, being honest with you, in the beginning, when he was drinking in the woods, getting drunk, I was there with him. When he was smoking in the basements, getting high at the parties, I was there with him. But I never thought he'd be that kid who would cross the line. Maybe just like you don't think that friend of yours, that sibling, that teammate of yours who's making these decisions will be that person who crosses that line, who takes that step forward and starts making the other decisions. He saw what happened. He knew what happened. He heard what happened to people who started making those decisions, messing around with Percocets, the Oxycontin, the Xanax. It was around where we grew up. A lot of the older local neighborhood kids, they were making these decisions. And he saw firsthand how, when they started making those decisions, the road that they started going down. How when they started making those decisions, the lives that they started living. How when they started making those decisions, how it just ripped, and I mean ripped, their lives apart. I saw it too. And so in knowing those decisions that my brother's making, and knowing the road that he's going down, messing around with the pills, who do you think I decided to talk to? What do you think I decided to do? Nothing. I didn't say anything to anybody. I just shut my mouth. And I walked around like everything was all good, like nothing was wrong. See, I was that kid who knew somebody struggling, who saw somebody fighting, hurting. And I just turned the cheek. And I made it look like I didn't know what was going on, when I knew what was going on. Why? Why didn't I say anything? I know the road he's going down. I saw what happened with the older kids. Why wouldn't I say anything to anybody? For the same reason you're not saying anything for that friend, for that sibling, for that classmate who's struggling. Because I was so concerned. I was so afraid. I was so nervous of the judgments my peers would have on me. I didn't want to be labeled a snitch. I didn't want to be labeled a rat, someone who was telling on somebody. But see, here's the thing you should know about judgment in this situation. That the most important judgment on you is not your parents, it's not your teachers, it's not even your friend's judgment. The most important judgment on you is the judgment you have on you. Because you walk around with that every single day. It affects you up here with the decisions that you make. And so talking about judgment, can you sit in your seat right now and can you honestly say to yourself that you are that friend? That you are that classmate, that you are that sibling to that person who is struggling? Do you have their back? Are you lending that helping hand? Are you really looking out for them? Or are you that person who's just turning the cheek? Are you that person who's talking about them behind their back? Are you that person making fun of them? Because look, I have made plenty of mistakes in my life, plenty. But this by far is the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. Not saying anything for what my brother was going through. It was not too long ago, Brendan. He's in the backseat of a car, a few buddies, wraps that belt around his arm, loads up that syringe, sticks that needle in his arm. As soon as it disappears, he injects that heroin, and all of a sudden, he starts overdosing. 3 kids in that car are thinking, what should we do? I don't want to get in trouble. What do I do? What do I do? What do they do? They open up that back car door. They lift my brother's body up. And they throw him in the parking lot. He's just laying there, by himself, overdosing. Those kids, they just speed off. Eventually, he dies. And this all started with just struggling with social anxiety. and not asking for help, trying to make these unhealthy choices he's dealing with. And in that moment, really think about this, in that moment, he made a decision. Tried to start drinking, start smoking. He went down this road. But in that moment, if he had made a decision to talk about what he was going through with somebody else and asked for help, he could have gone down that road. So if you get nothing else out of this today, understand that when you know somebody who's struggling, when you know they're fighting, when you know they're hurting, and you ask for help for them, you're not a snitch. You're not ratting on them. You're not telling on them. You're speaking up for them. And it's so critical you let that sink in. I'm going to say that again. When you know somebody who's struggling, and you speak up for them, you ask for help, you're not snitching on them. You're not ratting them out. You're not telling on them. You're speaking up for them, because that just might be the one thing that turns their life around. That just might be the one thing that puts their life on a different path. That just might be the one thing. The one thing. Saves their life. And I have seen this help so many people. When I spoke at a school one time and I'm done, everybody's filing out of the auditorium, they're leaving. I noticed that there's this girl, she's just sitting in the front row. She's not moving. Heads down, doing this with her leg. I can tell she's contemplating something. She's thinking about something, going through something. And all of a sudden she pops up out of her chair. She walks over to me as I'm packing my stuff up, goes, "Excuse me, Mr. Davies, can I talk to you for a second?" "Oh, no." Breaks down, she goes, "No." I couldn't stop thinking about my boyfriend the whole time we were talking. He's making the exact same decisions as your brother was. And I don't want anything to happen to him. I don't know what to do. See, his father, not too long ago, died from an overdose. I don't want that to be him. I don't know what to do. What should I do? But he told me, if I tell anybody what he's going through, he's going to tell everybody my little secret. And that girl rolls her sleeves up. She's got cuts on her elbow to her wrist, and she goes, "Mr. Dario, I'm a cutter. See, I just don't think that I'm pretty enough. Just don't think that I'm smart enough. I just straight up just don't think that I'm enough. But I don't want anybody to know what I'm going through, but I'm so scared for my boyfriend. I don't know what to do. What should I do?" You just did what you were supposed to do. You just spoke up and you asked for help, not only for yourself, your boyfriend who's struggling. And that girl and I, we were able to walk down to the guidance counselor's office, and she was able to get the help that not only she deserved, but her boyfriend deserved. And just like Jimmy, because she had the strength, the courage, the guts, same strength, courage, and guts I know you have to ask for help when she and her boyfriend were going through this difficult moment. She's no longer cutting. And her boyfriend's no longer making those unhealthy choices. So now that you know, you've heard how everybody in life struggles, everybody goes through difficult moments, now let's talk about how. How do you ask for help for yourself if you're struggling, or if you know someone who's going through a difficult moment? And before we get into the 3 things you need to know in asking for help, understand at this point, it's not your fault. Just quit being so hard on yourself and stop beating yourself up every day that you haven't asked for help, because it's not easy to do. I mean, look, I'm sure you've had people in your life let you know that they're there for you. You can call them, you can text them day, evening, or night. When have you really ever actually had somebody who's talked to you about who to ask for help from? What to say when asking for help? How to start the conversation to ask for help? Do you know those 3 things? Because if you don't, how are you supposed to take action? How are you supposed to get yourself or that person who's struggling the help that you or they deserve? So let's talk about it. Number 1, who? Who's the best person to approach when you're struggling for help? A trusted adult. an adult you can trust. That can be a teacher here, that can be a counselor here, it can be a sport coach, it can be principal, vice principal, somebody in the office. The biggest thing is it's an adult you can trust to have this conversation with. And on the side of that, having a friend, having a teammate, having a classmate of yours be there with you when you have this conversation makes it a little easier. It relieves some of the pressure that you feel. It relieves some of the weight you're carrying. And right now, maybe you're thinking, I don't trust anybody to have this conversation. I get this a lot. I don't trust anybody to ask for help from. If that's the case, come talk to me after this. That's what I'm doing here today. I'm not here to yell at you. I'm not here to reprimand you. I'm not here to put fear in you. I'm just simply here to help you or somebody you may know who's going through that difficult moment. Take that first step. Just start dealing and healing from whatever you or they going through. So now that you know who, number 2, how. How do you start this conversation? How do you get in contact with them? Well, you can approach them face to face. You can let that guard down, talk to them about what you're going through. But I know that that's really nerve-wracking. A lot of people, I don't want to do that right away. Okay, you have their email? You can email them. You have their phone number? You can text them, you can call them. You can simply just write them a little note, slip it under their door. But the biggest thing is that you don't let the fear, the nerves, the concern, the fright of this conversation hold you back. You reach out to them in one of these ways to start this conversation. And then what? Number 3, what do you say when you write that letter? What do you say in that text you send them? What do you say when you write them that email? 2 parts to this. First part, just a sentence or 2. Sentence or 2, letting them know what you're going through, how you're feeling, and that you want help. So an example would be, let's say I'm writing an email to my counselor at school, Jane. Dear Jane, my name is Eric Dario. I'm going through a hard time right now. I really need help. Can we talk? That's it. It doesn't have to be paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of what you're going through. Because then the second part to this is, when you eventually meet with that person face to face, that's when you let the guard down. That's when you become vulnerable. And that's when you're honest with yourself. That's when you're honest with that person you're talking to about that struggle, about that fight, about that hurt that you're going through, so that you can start dealing and healing. Because if you continue to put this front on, acting like I'm all good, I'm tough enough, I'm strong enough, I don't need any help, and you're just burying your emotions, how is it ever going to get better? How are you going to start dealing with what you're going through? And then lastly, when? When's the best time to have this conversation? Right now. You could have had it yesterday, you could have it tomorrow. But why not right now take that first step? Speak up and ask for help so you can start dealing and healing with whatever you're going through in here, and you can start living that life you deserve of being happy, healthy. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so we have about 2 minutes, all right, before you guys are released. So first off, does anybody have any questions about anything they heard today? On anything? All right, don't be shy. I got sweatshirts, I got shirts up here. If you ask a question, I know it's not easy. I'll give you one of those. Yup.
Oh, what if my problem is with my parents?
Okay, explain a little more.
You said talk to your parents about your problem. What if your problem is about your parents?
So you have an uncle, you have an aunt, someone that they're friends with, someone they're close with, you approach them. You talk with another adult that you feel as though could connect with your parents, you feel as though could sit down with them and could get across whatever your concerns are, whatever they're going through. So do your parents, do they have brothers, sisters, friends?
Well, mine do, yeah.
Okay. So approach one of those people you think they would trust to talk to about what they're going through. Voice your concerns to their friend or their brother or sister and have them talk with them. Just let them know what your concerns are. Anybody else? Yep.
What got you into talking about to students about this?
Good question. What got me into talking to students about this? Because when my brother died, I just thought to myself, if he had only asked for help, if he had only in that moment made a healthier decision, I firmly believe he would still be here today. And so many of you, I know there are some of you in here, you're laughing, you're joking, you're not taking it seriously, but it's usually you who are laughing or joking, not taking it seriously, that maybe you're going through something right now. So I knew that there are a lot of people who are struggling going through things, and if they could just ask for help instead of making those unhealthy choices, then they would be able to deal with what they're going through versus going down the road that my brother went down. Yep.
This is a lot about like asking other people for help. If someone needs your help like in a moment, what can you say besides tell them to talk to someone else?
So you just mean like another friend? That's a great question. For me, I would contact an adult ASAP. Because I just don't always feel like having, like, yes, you can talk to your friend about things, but at the end of the day, the best way to go about it, the best way to actually get help from what you're going through is to talk to an adult who can take that next step for you. Maybe you can have a friend there who can help calm you down, who can help make you feel better, but at the end of the day, I think the best thing we could do is to ask an adult for help so they can help you to get to the counselor. They can help you to talk with someone about what you or they are going through.
What if you are an adult? What do you say? Like, read the adult, someone asking for help, and what do you say to someone?
So, wait a minute, say that again. I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, so this is like ask an adult for help, but what if you are an adult? What do you say if someone is struggling?
So you ask, as I just said when somebody else asked the question, you ask another adult for that. Right? So maybe again, as I said, if it's, do they have a friend that you could talk to? Do they have a brother? Do they have a sister? Do they have someone they work with that would talk with them, that would come and approach them at work, talk with them about what they're going through? Yep, go ahead. Yep, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Like if you have like a friend that needs help, what would you like? How would you find such an adult for them?
So I would say, I guess that comes on who do you trust to talk with about this?
How do you determine who you trust as well?
Right? So that's a great question. How do you determine who a trusted adult is? It's somebody you feel safe, it's somebody you feel confident in approaching and giving them that information. So is there somebody that, maybe a coach, maybe a teacher, a counselor, who you feel comfortable with, who you have a good rapport with, that you could approach and talk to them about that person? I guess in that case, it would be who you feel like an adult you can trust to have this conversation with, to let that information out to.
Thank you very much.